brother. All right, we have a special guest on today, a good friend of mine, longtime friend. He is a huge person in the world. You probably recognize his face right now if you're seeing this on YouTube, but his name is Matt Best. What's going on, brother?
What's up, Johnny? How are you, buddy?
Good, man. Good. Just
I'm thankful for podcasts because they rekindle a friendship after probably not talking to you. Well, we've been talking sporadically, but it's been a good minute since we've had a beer together or something.
Oh
So
yeah, man. It's been a while since we've had like a real long conversation. Most of it's really hey man, Merry Christmas or Happy Thanksgiving or you still alive? Like that's
still
about
alive. Congrats on the wedding. Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man. Well, I want to dive into one question that I always start off my podcast with, and our boy Garrett has the funniest one right now
Okay,
in my mark. So I want to hear what you got for this.
okay.
What is your spirit animal and why?
Oh wow, my spirit animal. That's a really good one. I would like to think that I am like I don't know. We've talked about this in my podcast a lot. I would like to think that I'm like a miniature bear, where I'm like a cute, cuddly teddy bear, but then not the gay version, but like the one where you can really get along with, but then you'll just rip someone's head off. That's kind of where I'm at.
I kind of
Because you
feel
could go
like
unicorn, you could go all that other stuff, but I have a little majestic in me. Maybe like a bear with a unicorn thing. I don't know.
oh, that's interesting. A bear with
Yeah.
a unicorn horn. That's
What did
interesting.
Garrett go with? Like a liger?
Dude, he went with like a little he went with a baby orangutan with like a weird mohawk.
Okay,
I was like, that sounds about like Garrett.
that's
If I
that's
were to
something.
if I had
Yeah.
imagined him as an animal, that's what it would be actually. So that's
Right.
pretty damn close. Yeah. Yeah. Well, good, man. I
I'll
love it.
go with the unicorn bear. Final answer.
Unicorn bear. Final answer. I love it. That's gonna be that's what probably one of my top ones because it wasn't a real bear. It's kind of like the miniature bear.
Yeah, I want a little smaller than bear. I don't want to be like a grizzly bear, but a black bear size. So I'm a little more nimble.
Yeah, there you go. I like
Yeah,
that. A little more nimble. Nimbly bimbly.
nimbly bimbly.
Oh, awesome, man. Well, here's a few other questions just to get the my community to get to know you if they don't already follow you or listen to you. So one of them is, what song do you have to sing along with when you hear it? And you're actually a good singer, so this is gonna be fun.
Um, who sings it? Is it Celine Dion? No, Whitney Houston. And I will always love you. Ooh. But when she hits the bridge and she changes keys, and that's the one. I always do it. No
Oh
matter, I
man.
always sing it. Don't care if I'm in public or at home.
And I've actually seen you sing random shit in public, so I can imagine this one.
That's
So
fair. That's
that
fair.
is fair. That's awesome. Did not expect that one coming from you.
Well, it's one of those ones you would expect like a 220-pound bearded dude to sing, but you just got to send it sometimes. And
Is that what you're up to now? 220?
I
Having
know.
baby children?
No, baby deer. I'm on a strict baby deer diet. So axis deer specifically. No,
Strictly.
I don't run anymore after Ranger Battalion. We get kind of not fat. I just don't have to run anymore. So I just like lift weights.
Just lift heavy shit. Throw your
Yeah,
wife up in the air.
it's a great weight. It's a little light because she's petite and beautiful, but it still works for a good.
That's right.
I call it wife cardio. That's my thing.
Wife card.
Yeah, it's the only cardio I do.
That's awesome, man. All right, brother. So if you were a DJ, what would your DJ name be?
DJ Scratchatory Rape.
Scratch it.
Because
Oh,
like the records wouldn't want what I'm doing to them, but like
because the records wouldn't want what you're doing to them.
yeah, in no way am I condoning rape in any way. I would absolutely hurt someone very
Disclaimer here.
just yes, absolutely. But if I was a DJ and the records were my thing, I would be DJ Scratchatory Rape.
That will probably hold as the best DJ name. I have not heard a better one yet. That is by far the best one. All right,
Awesome.
man. So last two. One of them is what is something that everybody looks stupid doing?
Eating soft serve ice cream.
Eating sausage. Explain this.
I don't feel like anybody looks cool, even when they try to sexualize it with like hot chicks licking it. It still looks stupid, like you're eating a children's snack. It's not cool whatsoever.
Just flopping around everywhere.
Yeah, especially when you get to the cone part. Like, how do you? It just looks stupid. Everybody looks stupid doing it.
All right,
I don't know what else.
I can buy into that. Well, I've had someone say taking a shit. That was one. That was a pretty good one. I'm pretty sure nobody looks good doing
Eh,
that.
I don't know. I mean, the Japanese have a different take on that. They love watching those videos, or the Germans, excuse me.
I was gonna say,
So,
wait,
yeah.
that's funny. All right, and if animals could talk, which would be the rudest one?
I mean, up. Not this girl. Hi, baby.
Aww.
My beautiful shepherd. I think cats, man. Cats are complete dicks, and I'll go with Chihuahuas, like certain breeds of Chihuahuas. But I feel like cats would be a douche. They'd walk up to you and they'd be like, "Hey, took a shit. Might want to clean my cat litter. By the way, I'm gonna paw you at 3 a.m, and then when you go to pet me, I'm gonna bite your fucking hand or whatever they do." I don't own cats.
You are literally, I've had the majority of cats. Majority people have said cats. They are
Really?
like little assholes, man. Yeah, they just walk all over your fucking counter. Hey, don't worry about your food. Like, I'm gonna.
I've had a couple good cats in my life that I've met, but consistently they're kind of just like the a-holes of the animal kingdom, you know?
Yeah, they're complete
So
assholes. Did you ever meet Alvin when I had Alvin?
yeah, I think so.
Alvin, yeah, he used to play. He was cool. He used to play fetch with hair ties. I was like, I can respect that. You're like a fetching cat.
Yeah. He's like, he gets it. He's a homie.
He's a homie. Oh shit. Well, that's good, man. That's good.
Oh yeah.
Well, brother, so one of the things I wanted to get your take on, just to kind of kick this thing off, and we're just gonna go from there, man, and make it
Sure.
build out. But so masculinity today is like under fire a lot. You
Yep.
get these people trying to identify like toxic masculinity. What's kind of your view on toxic masculinity?
I think it's a sensationalized statement that is overused and it's propaganda essentially. I think that it's the same thing with any progressive or hyper right statement, and mainly it's progressives these days tend to like romanticize these really weird terms that they define to like go against what they believe society should look like. And it's very bizarre to me that people that say this toxic masculinity thing's an issue, they ask people like us that are considered having toxic masculinity to provide jobs for them that they're unwilling to do because they just are incapable of doing it. So it's such a hypocritical statement and label. And I know when the Gillette commercial came out and all that stuff, and everybody's begging us to go after him, but it's like I didn't even want to give them the credit because it was such a freaking bitch play, and I completely wholeheartedly disagree with it. And moreover, it's just like some of the comedy that we were writing in contextually with that was that like me opening the door for my wife would be considered toxic masculinity. No, it's a gesture of kindness and reverence to like, hey, it's a gesture of kindness. Like, I don't know how to state it differently. It's not saying she's incapable of doing such acts, so I don't subscribe to any of that ideology that being a brute that you lift weights and have tattoos defines you as someone you're not. I truly take pride in being a kind human, but I will hurt someone that's hurting the innocent. And a lot of people that define me as toxic masculinity would never step up. They would run from the conflict rather than participate in it. So.
Yeah. No, that's good, brother. I feel the same way about it. It's a divisive term, and a lot of people throw it out there because they want to kind of mesh in with society and the social aspect of saying it and saying like, oh, this is some validated term. But in reality, when you look at toxic masculinity, you look at its basis foundation, it's basically saying that whatever it is unfit for consumption. This is what Josh Trent, another podcast, told me about. And I was like, well, that makes a lot of sense. So you're saying that masculinity is unfit for consumption. You're just generalizing because you're saying toxic masculinity. So it really rubs me the wrong way when people kind of go about that.
Yeah, and my homework for those people would be like, define what toxic masculinity is to the people that are actively using that terminology. What does it mean to them? And I think that's where the conversation is to start. But quite often, and it's the same thing I deal with when I speak to gun rights, is people are often so emotional about their position that they're unwilling to listen to facts and or what's actually going on in society. They just want to hold this viewpoint because them and their echo chambers and in the school systems and how liberal college institutions are these days. They live in that little thing and they don't ever want to break out of the bubble because God forbid Kelly at the salami, happy hour says that she disagrees with you. Like, that's the whole point of society, is to disagree with each other so we can build a better future, right? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
disagree with my friends all the time. Like, that's the whole point of this. You're not
Yeah.
always right.
No, and I think a lot of people have a hard time with having kind of an educated. You can have an educated argument and not be contentious with one another. Like it doesn't have to cause us to not be friends, right? And I think a lot of people fear having those kinds of conversations because that they're like, oh, well, if they say the wrong thing, I'm not going to like them, you know?
Yeah, I mean, to break that down, it would be like, I like the scientific approach to it. It'd be like saying there's no cure for AIDS. And then like some scientist goes, hey, I think there might be. You're an idiot. There's no cure. Like, no, you got to talk about things and maybe figure out how to like save some people's lives, you know?
Yeah. No, that's
And
actually really good.
it's super simple, but I mean, shit.
No, man, it's a good. I like the analogy there, and I just I love to bring that out because right now a lot of guys are having a hard time saying, well, what is it okay for me to do, and what is okay for me to not do nowadays? Because if I try to be a man and say, like you said, yours was a perfect example, open a door. Well, that used to be called chivalry. That used to be called, having respect for somebody, being kind. And now it's toxic masculinity because you're trying to say that your wife is inferior to you because you're the man. So
Yeah.
what do we say to guys when we're saying like, hey, it's okay to still uphold those masculine things, like doing that, lifting weights or opening doors or those kinds of things, or fighting to defend somebody. What do you say to those guys that that's okay, but like you can still honor your emotions, vulnerability, and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I just think that the problem is people tend to, and it's more from a corporate environment that I found, that people have to like placate certain situations so they don't represent themselves in a true manner. They have to like um, essentially assimilate into this like super hyper PC culture. But I think it's time for people to stand up and say, I'm not going to be that way. And you can dislike me for that. And it's kind of what I've done with my business partners in the companies that I own. Like, this is who I am wholeheartedly. I'm very transparent in that. Vote with your dollar. You can buy my shit or you cannot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but here we are. This is who I am. This is what I believe in. And I think people just have to take that risk. And it's challenging to do that, but I get a lot of hate for it. But then I get a lot of love too, because people are like, man, I wish I could say those things. I'm like, fuck it, man. I'm going to speak my mind, say it how I see it. And then if you challenge me, absolutely do it. But you can challenge me in an articulated, rational manner where we bring discussion forward rather than hate or like emotional slander. Like this, if you come out the gate and 90% of the time it's like, you're this, you're labeling me as something that you don't know. You have no oversight or insight to my lifestyle or who I am. Um, we can have a conversation, but when people just try to like label you as some idiot or whatever because you're stereotyped as something, it is what it is. Unless it's in a comedic sense, because I think humor should be free floating. You could say whatever you want with humor.
That's under attack now too nowadays, man.
No, it's disgusting. I mean, I look at Kevin Hart where he couldn't, host whatever, and it's just like what he's hilarious and something he said 10 years ago that now you think is inappropriate. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it's like free speech is going to go away. Sorry, don't shit for my dog.
That's why we love Matt. No, you're right, man. And you have like the Joe Rogan stand up on Netflix, and I heard him numerous times say like kind of have to preface it like, I don't believe this. I just say this
Mm-hmm.
shit because it's funny, and it's sad that a
Yep.
comedian actually has to do that nowadays.
No, I saw Rogan live in Idaho, and a lot of the jokes that I found super hilarious, he had to preface them just like you said. He was like, just so you guys know. And they went over really well in a more conservative market, but he openly said, like, this did not go well in California because they'd get the initial reaction where they like giggle and laugh. And then they're like, oh shit, my friends might not think I'm cool if I laugh at that joke. And you're like,
Eh,
just laugh at it. It's comedy, man. Like,
yeah. No, bro,
yeah.
and I think you actually this is a great segue because you kind of hit the nail on the head with people trying to protect their real personality. How do you feel about like, guys just not being authentically themselves? Like they have to sit there and curb who they are instead of just being honest, because I think a lot of times it's holding them back from being, good husbands. It's from being good fathers, from being good friends, from being good brothers.
Yeah, it's fair. I mean, I think that's a very broad question. I would just say I try to stay true to who I am every day, and it's been very challenging. But that's something that I've tried to honor, like the people that we served with that aren't here anymore. And I've always been like, okay, how do I live a fulfilling life that is honest and true to what I believe in and stay true to that, even when people are combative in their disagreements with me? Then it's escalation of force. Like when people are like, you can't say that, Matt. I go, well, why not? It's on my forum and I have an opinion. Well, you're this. And so I don't know if I have proper guidance for people that aren't who they are, but it's just kind of be you, man. Life is so short. There is no rehearsal in all this. We know that, right? You get one shot and that's it. So might as well live it to the fullest and create as much value and happiness in the people around you and their lives. And the people that disagree with you, more than likely they're assholes or they're going to live an unhappy life, you know. And if they disagree with you and have a rational conversation and shake your hand after, well, that's great. That's awesome because people disagree.
Yeah, no, and actually, I think you identified a way for guys to be authentic without actually saying it, but you've mentioned it already a couple times, and you're talking about how guys can, or how people in general can not really get wrapped up in the emotional side of an argument and really come at it kind of scientifically or come at it in an educated way and have a conversation more than an argument. If guys can just hold true to that and not get wrapped up in the emotional state of it, I think guys can really be authentically themselves, but they just need to come at it a different way and not allow that escalation to take over a conversation.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think also that it's hyper challenging in the climate in America right now. You know, the whole reason we started our podcast, Drinking Bros, shameless plug, was because, you know, people didn't have an outlet to be themselves. And we were getting all these messages in saying like, I wish I had friends like you guys. And really the ask was from people that were listening to our content or watching our content was they wanted to feel like they were back in that team room or that sports locker room where they got to say what they want. Like, hey, that mofo on the field was being a bitch. They can't speak like that in front of their families or in front of their job, you know, coworkers. So we provided them an outlet. That was the point of it, to listen to something that they truly were, and irreverent and crazy as it is, it was an outlet and they needed that. And we've seen such great community outreach and community building based off of just giving a platform to people to be who they are without judgment for the most part. And it's been hyper successful. And I think most people want to be in that. It's just, we have this crazy PC culture that's restricting every step you take, which is absolutely ridiculous to me.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. I think that's where a lot of guys, in my opinion, are just getting stifled on being who they are. They're scared to say that stuff. They're scared to be masculine because if they're you know, what's considered too masculine, then they're considered you know, hating women or hating gays or whatever it is, and then they end up getting ostracized from their family or from their friends. So
well, it's easy. It's hard to, I mean, it sounds super, super lame. It's hard to be like a dude these days, especially like a white male. And like, I swear, and I don't, it's not right. I live the dream life. I'm very fortunate where I'm at, but we're an easy target now. Like the pendulum swings back and forth. And I think that it'll come back and we'll get rid of some of the crazy shit going on today. But it's a bizarre world that we live in today. It really is. Like where you say, hi, ma'am, and then you get an EOC complaint saying that you're sexually derogatory because you were casting hate on someone because a woman's beneath you. And you're like, I said, ma'am, it's out of a position of reverence. Like, I don't. But all that's subjective, right? How do you define laws around something that's so subjective and emotional? Like you can't. It's
right.
all up to the person to interpret it how they are. We're just making fucking sounds right now, and people take them how they are. That's all it is.
Yeah, and then everybody, and with the social media, you know, availability, they can complain about it, and a million people are going to hear it. So, yeah, that's very true. Well,
Truth.
So so you and I have known each other a long, long time. We've been friends, and there's a gap there where honestly we didn't talk for a while, just basically because we were just doing our own lives. So what are some of the things that have kind of challenged you in that time to become the man that you are today?
Wow. Okay.
You don't have to go through all of them.
No, it's fine. No, I don't know, man. I think that, you know, when we were in Ranger Battalion together, that was a huge learning curve for me. It's really what defined me to be a man, and why I believe in masculinity a lot was that I joined the Army as a child. I really believe that. I was 17. And by the time I got to Ranger Battalion and then, went through my first deployment when we met and stuff, I was like, oh, wow, you remember how freaking nerdy and small I was? And it was just like this transition over the years until our last deployment together when we were both team leaders and like had this great working relationship together. And we're running, a platoon of guys essentially on very high level, high intensity targets. And from there, I think when I got out, I had a huge transition issue with being that level of, professional warfighter to just being the average 24-year-old kid. So I went through my own struggles as far as defining myself. And that was the big one for me. It was like, I defined myself with this like very go-getter, talented young man. And then I got out and I was very like the antithesis of that. I was nothing that I defined myself. And it took me about a year and a half to find that. And, Bullock, right? Of course, one of our mutual friends kind of pulled me out of slum with Smitty. And they were like, get your shit together. We have this job opportunity for you to go back overseas. And I really had to get myself out of a dark place. And they helped kind of pull me out. And that's why I'm so big into like support systems and building community around yourself. Because if it wasn't for them, I don't know where I would be. I'd probably be, a hammered drunk working as a bartender in Los Angeles. I truly don't know.
That actually might be the case. I remember you took a bartending class when we are up in
Yep.
But
yep.
I remember that time with you, bro. We were talking pretty frequently then. I came down and saw you a couple
Yep.
times as well. And I remember you were doing security
Mhm.
for, some EP security, right? And
Yep.
someone's house. And you're like, dude, what are you doing, man? Like, what are you doing, like, to get back to something? And that's when you and I were talking a lot about going back overseas.
Yep.
We talked to you about getting a little more education using the GI Bill. We talked
Yep.
about that. So
that is true, because all those and that's where I believe that you have these positive, talented influences in your life. Because we were talking about college and all that, and I went on to get my bachelor's degree while I was overseas with the agency and stuff. So I've been very fortunate to listen to my friends, even when I thought I was right and I was doing the right thing. I consistently listen to my friends that have been through hardships as well and kind of follow their guidance. And that's really paved the way to where I'm at today. And very, 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 very fortunate for having those people in my lives, because, I would never be where I'm at. And then now that I'm in this position, I'm like, how do I be that influence and inspiration to guys that are younger, that may not know me, but social media presence and influence can mean a lot. And so that's what I'm trying to do, because I don't know where my life would have been without like all you guys kind of help guiding me to my professional career post deploying,
Yeah. No, that's crazy, man. I felt the same thing, because you and I got in the military roughly the same time. I was 17. By the time you met us overseas on the first deployment, I'd turned 18. But yeah, so actually, no, we're not even that far apart. Yours October, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. All right. I'm Halloween. You're October. What are you? October.
It's October. We don't talk about it.
Oh,
second. I'm second, buddy.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I have another best friend. He's on October 2nd as well. Wow, that's funny. But yeah, so I went through that same stuff though. It was really hard, man. I actually struggled a lot with trying to find out who my identity was, as far as like being a man when you weren't part of this alpha high intensity group of dudes where you're, just doing that shit all the time. So it was that was a struggle for me, and I agree with you that it's really kind of who you're looking up to and who you're listening to that kind of drags you out of that, because we're very good at doing something when we dedicate ourselves to it, so we would be very good at being very bad at life if we chose to do it.
No, 100%. I consider myself this like massive ball of energy that is just like one of the brightest things you've ever looked at. But where that energy goes will either make something absolutely epic and run a Tesla to 180 miles an hour, or it will burn down your house. Like, and dude, it's the truth. And I'm like, I have to have people that harness my energy and then go like, that's the thing. And then I just run with it and I'm great at it. But when I got out of the military, that's what I was, just a ball of energy that was like bzz, 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 in LA, just starting to burn things down. And eventually I just would have, been dust in the wind. I don't know, but
my God, man, yeah, it's so true. Just knowing you, knowing the personality, absolutely,
yeah,
100% true.
that's, I think, something becoming a man, and you have to really understand yourself, and that's something over the years I've understand. Like, I'm a very driven, motivated guy. I have some talents that other people don't have, but I am an artist and I am self-destructive, and I know those things about myself. It's like, back in war, like I completely convinced myself I was going to die. So I'm like, let's just do the craziest shit possible. And I don't really care because it's going to be fun and I get to die. It's going to be awesome.
We
And then
totally
you, in
love
the,
that.
yeah, and you think back on those things and I'm like, wow, I'm a crazy person. How do I, have a wife? How do I have a life
Crazy person.
in a good way, man? I think normality is kind of lame. So, but you have to harness that energy. And that's why I've taken so many steps to like give back to the community in that way. Was like, I know there are people out there like me that spent far more time in service, did far more crazy stuff than I did. Like let's say 20 years in a tier 1 unit, they get out at, the age of 45 and what do they do now? Were they going to go to Home Depot and work? They just spent their whole entire life fast roping at a little bird shooting HVTs in the face. Like
Yeah.
you got to like wean them off the drug that is war. Like you can't
Yeah.
cold stop a heroin addict. You got to work them through some treatment, man.
Yeah,
And that's
man.
a metaphor. So
That adrenaline. But
yeah.
no, so coming from that, knowing that obviously you had to transition out, um, what was it that kind of got you hooked into the new Mat?
I guess my current version of myself would be similar to my old version. And I hate to be the guy that defines himself by one chapter in my life, but I look back at the time pretty much when we were all team leaders together, especially that Balad deployment. Like it was such a cohesive, like we all knew the consequences every night and we were getting shot at every night. And it was just kind of like, it was such an invigorating feeling and the consequences were so high that we were just exactly who we were. There was no, pretending we were somebody else. And I've searched for that version outside of the military. And I think that I found them now.
Mm.
And in entrepreneurship and all these other things that I'm trying, it's like I can be the version of Matt that I want to be today. I'm not going to be that exact version back there, but at least I can be the version that I want to be today. And it's taken a really long time to get there, but it's a challenge every day, but it's the most fulfilling thing that I've ever experienced in my whole entire life, to be yourself.
That's so good, man. That's powerful right there. And then like, do you, it's, do you find it hard and an everyday struggle to always confront yourself like internally? I think guys struggle with that a lot and they don't know how to do that. And I think a lot of men, those guys that like establish that false bravado, that false masculinity, they put that
Yeah.
shell over them because they can't really confront themselves internally. Do you find that that's what you do on a regular basis to maintain who Matt is today?
Yeah, I think part of having proper masculinity is challenging yourself and challenging your ego. Ego is super important because it makes me who I am. It makes me hyper competitive. It makes me, you know, if my wife likes, big arms, then I'm going to go lift all the weights to be a better version of her aesthetic. Like egos can be a really good thing, but they can be a very bad thing when you always listen to your ego. Like you're the shit. You didn't do anything wrong. And I think that that's where a lot of guys have a lot of issues, is actually being okay with not being the best or not being the dude sometimes. Because my friends these days are so freaking smart and talented that once in a while, more than not, they're going to be smarter than you in a situation. They're going to lift more weights than you. And you just kind of have to be content with that. But what I do is I surround myself around people that are so epically amazing that I hope to kind of meet that bar every day. So when I look behind me, I'm like, oh wow, I'm better than I was yesterday. And my
Mm.
competitiveness is with myself. And obviously I'm very competitive with my friends, but
Yeah.
deep down, it's like, how do I make myself better? How do I treat my wife how she really deserves to be treated? And then how do I treat myself how I should be treated? Because if you lie to yourself, then fuck that. It's just lame.
Mm. And that's good, man. I love that you quoted that you like to be better than yourself and you're competing with yourself. I try to pass that along to a lot of guys because I think a lot of times we do this comparisonitis. And that comparisonitis, if I look at you, right, and I'm saying, like, I'm trying to do my podcast, I'm trying to do my thing, and I look at you and I'm always staring at you, I'm going to hate you. I'm going to resent you. We went to war
Mhm.
together. I can't hate you and resent you, but I will because I'm always comparing myself to you. And that's never good because then I'm just going to get negative. I'm like, I'm not where Matt is. I'm not doing what Matt's doing. So then I'm going to get negative on myself. And that's going to bring me lower and lower. And then I'm never going to actually reach who I'm supposed to be or who I'm trying to be.
I love that statement, man, because I found two differences over the years. I found people that I've even worked with that have hated me solely out of some form of insecurity and jealousy. Then I found people that are like, I want to start a coffee company. How'd you do it? And I'm like, I'll show you how I did it. Whether or not they're successful, there's enough market share in this world for everybody to succeed. And it's really the people that will be a sponge. I hate the cliche, but it's true. Be a sponge and really be open to information that succeed. And I'm always willing to like help guide and coach those guys. Shit, I have plenty of mentors to this day that I call on a weekly basis. And I'm like, I'm fucked up on this. Like, I don't know what to do, you know, and they helped me through the issue. And I'm very thankful for that. And so it's a good point for you to say that, yes, you shouldn't resent people because they found success in a similar format. You should actually reach out to them and be like, hey bro, can I maybe work together or steal an hour of your time? You know?
Yeah. And that's good.
And you're not always going to get it. You're not always going to get it. Cause I've reached out to people over the years. They've never reached back. And then we've met 4 years later and I could have opened up with like, hey, you fucking asshole. You never wrote me back. I'm just cool, calm, and collected. I'm like, we'll play this relationship how it started today as if nothing ever happened. And I'll work through it as it goes forward, you know?
And I love where you're coming from with that, because I think it's just important to always, you know, people are going to life, man. People are going to do life, and you can't always hold people accountable for shit they didn't do. If it wasn't something like, people aren't intentionally blowing you off, you know, they got life too. And sometimes that just means that like, if you guys are meant to hook up a couple years later, then that's when it was meant to happen, man. But keep doing you and stop comparing and stop getting resentful. So I love that.
100%. 100%.
Well, one of the other things I like that you said, you talked about mentors, and I think they're super important. I'm still looking for, you know, I have a few guys that I've connected with recently that I can see being good mentors, but you said how important they are in your life. What can you tell people to kind of like make that a priority for themselves, because it really helps you?
Yeah, I think that you're defined by the circle that you hang out in, right? And that's a great thing. So I'll use my personal life as an example. I hang out with my business partners and coworkers who are these brilliant, talented, mainly veteran guys that I love. And they make me better every day. But conversely, when you hang out with the same group of people, you all kind of become one organism because you play off of all of each other. And it almost becomes an echo chamber where you all want to agree with each other for the sake of agreement, because that means that the organism can float like this rather than fucking do this kind of thing. And it's an audio show. I'm saying it moves easier when you're all agreeing.
It moves
so
in one piece.
One piece.
Oscillating on side to side.
Yes. And so what I've tried to do unknowingly at first was find mentors outside of that. So I got unbiased, real talk, even when I didn't want it, advice. And I have about 3 of those people who are about 15 to 20 years older than me that I can bounce ideas off, that are hyper successful in business or charity and in the military, that give me no shit, real advice. And sometimes it's hard to swallow, where I'll go on a rant and I'm like, I'm so fucking right. And they're like, Matt, you're being a freaking asshole. And you're like, okay, explain. They'll explain it to me. I'm like, okay, I still kind of disagree because my ego, but I totally get it. I'll sort it, you know? And I think that's hyper important to find those people that are real. Because if you have yes men in your life, where the fuck does that get you? It gets you until your success stops, and they're going to be no men and they're fair weather friends. That's all it is.
Yep. And so when guys are looking for that, so one of the things guys have a hard time doing, and I know you know this, I know this because I still struggle with it, is when you're looking for a mentor or you're trying to see if a mentor will give you time, asking for help. That's probably one of the hardest things our ego protects us from as men, is asking for help, because we're expected to know everything. So how can guys like get better about shutting that ego down to say, no, like I need to ask for help and I need to listen, like you just said?
Yeah, I think finding a mentor is significantly harder than asking for help, because you can always find the wrong mentor, and then you'll have the evil birdie over here,
Oh no.
chirping in your ear some bad advice. But Yeah, it is very important to be able to ask for help. And that's something that I've learned over the years, because I think guys like us that came from the environment that we did were always like, I'll fix it. I'll fix it. I'll
Hmm.
fix it. And sometimes it's completely fine to go, I'm going to fix it. But to fix it, I have to go, can you help me? You know,
Hmm.
and it's super challenging, and it's really an internal struggle. But if you get past that, your life will be so much more fulfilling. Because if you hit a crossroad in your life, instead of making your first decision, you can go confide in somebody or two people. Just like when you go get a freaking, you dent your car, you get 3 bids on it, and then you make the best decision off 3 bids. I believe that wholeheartedly with life decisions. Like, let me ask 3 of my most intelligent, talented friends that are unbiased. I'll collectively put their information together, and then I'll go, okay, what does Matt want to do with that? And I might make the wrong decision, but at least I had like the best foot forward and really good guidance on what I should or shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, it allows you to better evaluate the situation from different perspectives because
Yeah.
we don't all think the same. So, when you get that, you're able to say like, okay, yeah, this looks better, or this kind of melds with what I think is going on, so now I can make a more informed decision. But that's good. Yeah, asking for help though, it's very important.
It's easy to say at 32, because I'm sure it comes with age a little more, and I still need to work on it. But you tell
Oh,
that to 22-year-old Matt, he would have chugged a bottle of Jameson and been like, "Send it," me back in the day.
yeah, no. Yeah, I totally hear you, brother. So yeah, but talking to guys, I mean, talking to guys in general, I think it's important even at an early age, start asking for help and start listening. I try to preach. The other night I had a Instagram live. I try to preach, shut the fuck up, guys. Stop talking. Listen what other people have to say and take it in. That's experience. So,
Well, yeah, I think the more perspectives you get on a subject or situation, the better informed decision you can make off of your life experience, right? So
hmm.
if you just fucking listen once in a while, and you can talk to any of my business partners, I'm usually the quietest person in the room, because I'm just listening. And not that they blow, but certain people, like third party people we have to work to, they blow hot air. And I'm like, oh, this person's just talking to talk. And I never want to be that guy. I want to be the guy that every time I speak, it hopefully brings value in some capacity to what we're doing. And certain people just feel the need to like speak to speak. I mean, we're on a podcast, so we're just running our sucks, but in
Yeah.
general in life.
Tell us how you really feel, Matt.
Ah,
Son of a bitch. Oh, that's good. Well, I want to change gears on you for a second because,
yeah.
again, I don't want to take up too much of your time. You got a family too. But one of the things I want to change gears on you on is because I knew a version of Matt long ago in relationships. What is the different version of Matt? Like, where is it that you've opened up to say like, okay, I'm willing to be vulnerable, I'm willing to be open and emotional with my wife to create a great relationship?
Um, okay. No, no, not that your
loaded
question. So
loaded question.
it's loaded. So I'll go back to, and I wrote this a lot. So never another Sam's bug. Freedom On, which is my book coming out. It's been 3 years in the work, but I'm trying to
Can't wait for
revolutionize.
this.
I'm serious. I'm trying to revolutionize what books are, because every book that I've read, not every book, because I read and I write with crayons.
Yeah.
Uh, but the majority of the books were, and I'll come back to your question, but
You're good.
were very pointed in the sense of, I'm this tough guy that never feels emotion. When this terrorist looked at me, I put 2 in his chest and dropped him. My training took over. And there's a fraction of that which is accurate, but that was what I felt social media was doing to the veteran community before I kind of started. And I tried to, and I don't know if I did a good job, but paint a little humorous light to, man, Johnny, when you and I were overseas, we're 21-year-old team leaders running 10 dudes through a house getting shot at. I mean, this is like, we didn't understand how gnarly this was. And I really wanted to bring the light through humor in my YouTube. And what I'm trying to do with the book was, we actually didn't really know what we were doing. All we had was like our brothers and some really good training. And that was about it. And I think people want to romanticize war so much, but the whole point with that is, in the book, I talk about sex stuff the same way. That when I was younger, I was this nerdy kid that couldn't get laid if he tried. And then, I joined the army, and then all of a sudden, the sky was the limit kind of thing. And I went through these relationships, and a lot of them were fake and they wanted me for somebody that I wasn't. And then once I kind of came true to who I was and what I really want, it gave me the ability to be a little more open and honest. And that's why I went through a few long-term relationships that were very challenging because, you know, they wanted a version of me that I wasn't. And so I learned over the years, especially when I met my wife, from like, hey, this is me. Like, I'm going to get a little drunk sometimes. I might do this, I might do this, might do this. And we just came to this really cool friendship and conclusion of like, I give her everything she wants. She gives me everything she wants. And if there's ever an issue, we're not going to be resentful. We're not going to go out and get hammered with our friends and talk shit on each other. We're just going to pour a glass of wine together and sort it ourselves. And it's been freaking the most rewarding thing that I've ever been a part of as far as a relationship.
That is awesome, man. I'm actually really happy to hear that because you've always been such a great dude that I just wanted to see you as somebody to be happy with. So that's cool that you found that you found it by being honest with you.
It is true being honest with yourself. This is really rude and people are going to get mad probably, but I always say don't settle. Bro, if I would have settled the first 2 times I got engaged, and listen, that is not, I'm not even getting into, they shouldn't have settled for me, right? So like, if I would have,
preach it.
I'm fucking awesome. I'm just kidding.
Don't settle. I support that 100%.
Yeah, just don't settle. Like if you feel it's wrong, don't settle. Don't get married, or take a tactical pause. Right, set up the ORP.
Yeah.
Don't hit the target. Like let's review it for a cool couple days. You know, because I always jumped into things, and luckily I never got married until it was right. But just don't settle because again, there's no rehearsal dinner for this fucking life, and you're gonna live it. And you don't want to wake up when you're 50 miserable as shit going, I wish I could have changed what I did. And I did all of those actions because I was scared that my family might say, you shouldn't get a divorce or you shouldn't be with that person. Like, are you kidding me? You have one chance. Mom spaghetti, dude.
Well, that, and then it's like you doing it because, oh, it's the time I'm supposed to be married. This is the time I'm supposed to have kids. Yeah.
Everybody tells that to my wife and I, like, it's time to have kids. I'm like, no, it's not, because I want to be the most epic dad of all time. And right now I work 80 hours a week. There's no way that I'm going to fucking have a kid right now. Now, if I accidentally had a kid or something, obviously it'd be rad dad, but I'm not going to purposely do it right now at this stage of my life in business. No way.
Right, man. And that's the thing. It's like you guys are setting priorities for who you guys want to be and who you guys want to show up as parents. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's no fucking timetable for this. This isn't the fucking 1920s, you know?
Right. With recent science, I mean, I could live to be $120, $140 easy.
No way you're making it that No way.
If I see 50, I'm happy.
That's what I always tell my wife. I was like, babe, you get me for 65, that's it. You know?
Yeah.
After that, everything's gravy.
My wife gets super pissed off too because I always say, I'm like, hey, it's cool. I'll probably die when I'm 50. You're 8 years younger. You can still marry the pool boy. Things will work out for you. And then I get jealous. I'm like, I'm going to come back and haunt you and punch that dude in the fucking face.
Kill the pool boy.
Yeah. The third pool boy has drowned in our pool. I'm like Casper, just floating like, I don't know.
Love you, honey. Oh, that's so good, man. So that's important. I think a lot of people don't want to address things in relationships. And I think that men a lot of times have a hard time with addressing things with their wife or their girlfriend or whatever, because they want to say like, okay, they'll get over it. And if I don't address it, it won't make it a bigger issue. So let me just shove this down with the rest of my fucking emotions.
No, worst thing ever.
Yep. And that was part of what I did in my first marriage, actually. So it wasn't very good. And that was because I was tired of fighting. And I should have kept doing it, and I should have kept being the guy that I wanted to be, and that because it caused me to be more depressed, to keep shoving those emotions down. So I love when you said that, you know, you guys laid out ground rules early on. I did that with my wife Taylor, and we laid out ground rules early on. And I think that's super important to be honest with them, be honest about that, and be honest what you guys are gonna encounter problems. So be honest about it.
Yeah, I've learned through actually some really great business influences in my life that we call it you could call it 100 different things, but here's he said, she said bullshit, right? Mm-hmm. And it's one of the most hardest conversations to ever happen in your whole entire life. But if you put people in it, it's amazing how quickly the resolve will happen. So let's just say you have two coworkers. You got Kelly over here and Brad over here. You're the manager. Brad saying Kelly was a piece of shit, turned into well, and then Kelly's saying Brad's, you know, a narcissist who's doing this. You can try to like figure that situation by being the third party. And actually, Evan helped teach me this. If you just grab both of them, set them in the room with you, and go, so Brad said that you were this, and this is this. Go. Almost every single time, they both come to this conclusion. Well, what I meant to said, and they're like, well, I thought you did this. And then within 5 minutes, they're like, I'm so sorry. Next time, I'll just come to you direct. Fucking done.
Wow.
Instead of letting it just turn into this, like, culture is more contagious than the flu. And if you allow people just to run with that negative dynamic, it will turn your whole organization or your relationship into this toxic thing that you just don't even want to be a part of, where it is so crazy. And if you just nip it in the butt every time like that, and not every time it's going to work that easy, but it is a great ground rule that I've tried to work into my relationship and then how I am as an executive in my company. Just let's sort it face to face, no ego, just let's work through it.
That is awesome, man. I did not know that that's kind of been like one of the themes that people are pushing. I love that, though. That's a really good management skill.
Yeah, a lot of people won't do it because it's hard, and they'll say the manager, put them in this position, and they had you had to have the right people and the right culture to do it. But yeah, it works well for us.
Well, awesome, man. I love that. Well, we're getting towards the end of our time, so let's do some shameless plugging. What the fuck do you have going on today, Black Rifle?
Sure. Yeah, I'm the co-founder of Black Rifle Coffee, which is I think one of the coolest organizations ever.
It is awesome.
Thanks, man. We're really trying to make some huge strides in, like, just how we said, being honest with yourself and providing opportunity to veterans. And I look at it from not a demographic sense in that you have to be a veteran, but more psychographic sense in that people that believe in the American dream want to participate in Black Rifle Coffee. Like, we're not some socialist company like these other ones that have this leadership that is just completely unaligned with what I believe in. And so we wanted to give people the ability to vote with $1. So that's why we made Black Rifle, and it's still continuing to succeed and doing very well. And the franchise opportunities are taking forever, but we're still working on them so people can own them. It's coming soon.
That's awesome.
Other than that, wrote a book that'll be out in August, and then all the other crazy shit I do, podcasts and apparel and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, you got Drinking Bros podcast, and you got Article 15 clothing. You got Gunslingers. Your
Lead Slingers whiskey.
Sorry,
no worries.
It's something to do with weapons. I know that.
I feel like it should have been Gunslingers because everybody calls it Gunslingers.
I do kind of like Gunslingers. Lead Slingers.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
That's all right.
You
can't rewrite the past, okay? Pinterest.
Should have called Johnny.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's awesome. So I'm super excited for your book. We're going to post links on everywhere where people can find you. You're massively followed on YouTube. If you guys haven't seen Matt, he's fucking hilarious on there. But I'm biased.
Yeah.
One ending thing that I want to ask you, or actually two ending things. One is I want to ask you one last thing.
Okay.
Is what is one tip you can give to guys to really shut down, stop being that false masculine, and actually just be true? What's one tip? Go. 5 seconds.
Yeah. Wait, say in 5 seconds?
No.
No, I think that it gives masculinity a bad vibe. I think that you can be very protective and have the ability to create amazing violence to protect the innocent, but you don't have to subject people to that. It's usually based out of insecurity. That's what I found, is when people are like this heightened masculinity guy, it's all out of insecurity because they want to define themselves as someone that they're not. I'll knock you out. They probably never gotten a fucking fist fight in their life. The most baddest dudes I've ever met in this whole entire planet, and females, are quiet professionals, and you just don't want to mess with them. So be like them.
Yeah, I love that. The quiet professional. That's what we based our lives on early on. So that's really good.
Until I wrote a book.
Until you wrote a book. Now you are the loud professional.
No, there's a difference between a silent professional and a quiet professional, Johnny.
Ruh-roh, getting educated by Matt.
The DOD approved it. We're good.
DOD approved. DOD approved. Well, I appreciate you being on here and supporting the community. What is it that we can do to support you, brother? What can I do? What can the community do to support you moving forward?
Just be awesome in their own lives and live a happy, fulfilling life. That's all they can do. And you do too, man. And text me a little more, and maybe we'll have some whiskey over FaceTime sometime.
Oh, absolutely, virtual happy hour. I'm always down for that.
And you're welcome to the ranch anytime with you and your wife, and we can play with the dogs and ride ATVs and do whatever.
Only if I can drink gunslingers. I don't want to drink that lead slinger shit.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'll put lead in yours, and we'll call it gunslingers. You might die of cancer in like 3 months, but we'll figure it out.
It's gonna be a bottle with a Sharpie on it, and it
Yeah.
crosses out lead. And it says gunslinger.
Exactly.
Oh, well, cool, brother. I appreciate your time, man. I appreciate you, and we will follow up with you. I will post all your stuff, and that will be our podcast, man. Thank you for coming
Cool.
on, and I appreciate it.
Good to see you, Johnny. Thank you.
Yeah, brother, always.